I'm Emily from Threaded Journey. Don't stress. Let's break this step down together.
The whole reason you create bias tape instead of just cutting your fabric straight, folding it, whatever, is because cutting it on the bias allows it to stretch just a little bit.
Now I'm going to need to cut my fabric on the diagonal. I've now separated and I have two triangles. I'm going to take this triangle and I'm going to turn it where it's now right side up. I'm going to take this triangle right here. I'm going to take the top edge. I'm going to take this far edge and I'm going to line it up with that one. All right, now just clipped that in place and I'm going to do a 1/4 of an inch seam. I have put my seam allowance in. I've pressed it open and my fabric is now like this. Depends on how big you need your bias tape as to how big you're gonna make your marks. Personally, for the project I'm working on, I need 2-inch bias tape. I'm going to make a line. It really doesn't matter what you use to draw this line. Just make sure you're gonna be able to see it because this is going to be your cutting line. The first time I made bias tape, I had used something that was so light, I had a hard time cutting it. Okay, now you'll notice I have to keep moving mine because this is going to be a long piece of bias tape. Now right here at this edge, I'm just going to cut that off where it's a little bit uneven so that that's a straight line. I measured from the straight line, not that little triangle piece right there. And I'm just going to keep going in the same manner, putting my line right here. And if you don't have one of these clear rulers, I'll link one down in the comments. And also my little fancy chalk thing. I love these. I can get a pack of multiple colors and they just come in so handy and are easy to mark on your fabric. Better than a pen. I feel like they last a lot longer and it doesn't erase when I put heat on it because I'm constantly ironing my stuff. All right, I'm just gonna keep on doing this until I complete or get to a point where I can no longer make a 2-inch section. Okay, when you get to as much as you can get, you probably will have at least a little bit. You may even have quite a bit left over. Just depends on how big your square was that you started with. Just get as far as you can. Now, if you're wondering why we weren't just cutting this, that's because we need to do the next step. All right, I cut off my extra that was at the top. I cleaned up my little triangle down here. Okay, watch closely because this can be very confusing, all right? So I'm gonna take this side over here and I'm gonna match it up with this side over here, okay? So that my seam allowance and my seam allowance are kind of my two edges. Does that make sense? All right, now I'm gonna look at where my first mark is here, and I'm going to line it up kind of here with my edge. Just gonna kind of clip that for a second as I'm looking to make sure my next line matches up with the back side over here, my next line, and that one does. So I'm gonna straighten out this one just a smidge. Actually, I've done pretty good. And I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm lining up this side where I made the line, and it's gonna come over here and line up with where I made the line over there, all right? here's my end result. And what I was doing is I made a circle with my fabric, and once I have stitched it across here, I'll be able to start cutting right here, and it will just make one continuous piece. Okay, so this should be my 2 inches. You see that? It's my 2 inches. All right, and then when I come over here, it ended over here the same exact way. All right, I've sewed my seam and I made a circle. So I'm just going to cut this line right here, and we'll be able to just continually cut in a circle until I come to the other side. All right, I now have one continuous piece of fabric, and that's awesome.
Thanks for watching, and you might also like these videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe.